Hello everyone and welcome back to Star Trek Online, 23rd century Starfleet. We're in the 25th century now actually, because we are now a temporal agent. Now before I start the first mission in this arc, I'm going to give a mini review on the last arc. It's actually a really good story, it just needed more of a story to tell. I understand that they needed to get people kind of up to date, and I do agree with the decision that they made. The stories were well written, especially putting us into situations that the Enterprise normally would have been in. And they did a couple of name drops and guest stars and all that. Overall, I really do enjoy the beginning of that arc. And then it got closer to the middle of the arc, and even closer to the end, where they mixed in some elements from Star Trek Enterprise. And I guess that's a good tie-in to how to get to the 25th century. Now I've did my uniform up a little bit, so now I'm basically just changed the color and updated my stripes on the sleeves. I'm wearing the Commander variant, or Captain variant, I think. I looked up a guide on the Star Trek Online wiki. So we did have a objective to go see Temporal Agent Cray. That changed to the report to Admiral Quinn's office because as I was running around, I walked a little too close to Agent Cray. So I'm going to actually try to talk to him first to see if he has anything to say.
Greetings, how can I assist you today?
Who are you?
Future. Well, where do I start? I'm 157 years old. That's only because I spent 90 years caught in a temporal distortion in the Typhon Expanse, serving as an ensign under Captain Morgan Bateson on the USS Bozeman. Much of the crew of the Bozeman found it difficult to integrate back into Starfleet. So much had changed. The Temporal Intelligence Agency took in many of my shipmates, due to our first-hand knowledge of events that occurred in the past. So, that's where I ended up.
Oh, that's all. Thanks. Now, I don't think he had anything too terribly important to say. More or less, don't tell anyone I'm from the past because they probably won't believe me anyway. Alright, let's speak with the Admiral. Okay, we're getting a new ship. Now, Melting Pot is a different episode. I'm not going to do it right now. So let's hurry up and see what kind of new ship we got. Now, I'm still a science officer, and according to Starfleet regulations, or at least in the 25th century, you can wear pretty much whatever you like, as long as it's a uniform. So Starfleet's perfectly alright with me wearing an outdated uniform. Alright, oops, not customize. That's customize our current ship. It's Starship and Shuttle requisitions. Thank you, Lieutenant Laurel. Let's browse some starships. Now, this will show us everything by default. We want to go to Lieutenant Commander. Now this gives us the Constitution refit. We can switch between variants as well. We could pick the Excalibur, which looks pretty neat. The Vesper, which they're all basically different variants. This is similar to the Excelsior class, actually. This is the Constitution refit as seen in, I believe, either Star Trek 2 or 3. You can get the original USS Enterprise type Constitution, but you have to pay for that in the in-game store. Then you have the escorts, the Saber class, Well, the hull is supposed to be a bit more light than that, but this is your typical attacking craft. The bridge officer stations, there's more tactical than anything else. Same with consoles, which are basically upgrades. This is the one I'll be picking. There's other ones as well, like the Rapier class and the Ushan class, which I was considering taking because Ushan is, well, the name comes from a Andorian hand weapon. And you can mix and match these parts as you please. The Gladius class actually is from the in-game store as well, using premium currency called Zen. I think just for, no, not the Rapier class, the Saber class. And it gives you a bit of a background on the ship as well. Yeah, I think we'll pick the Rapier class, but I'll show you the Science Vessel, which is the Nova class. Now, even though I'm a science officer, I am not tied to any particular type of vessel. It's just what I'm most comfortable with flying. Cruisers have high hit points, and they're generally they have lower defense, higher hit points, so they can take a pretty good hit, and they usually have more weapon slots. Not at this rank, though. They're just trying to ease you into the different types of ship. Science vessels tend to have more shield hit points, but lower hull. The escort that I'll be taking has the most 4 weapon slots, which is at the front of the ship. They tend to have less aft weapons, although they have an extremely high base turn rate, and they're about the middle of the road in terms of hull. Sometimes they're lower than science ships, but very rarely, and they have a lower shield modifier than either cruisers or science vessels. But this is the one we're going to be taking for a particular reason. They can mount cannons. The USS Grim. Sure. Alright, let's customize. Oops, no wait, we have to activate our ship first. So that's over here. That's select your ship. Go over to the USS Grim and ready it. And if you have a loadout, usually it'll transfer over. Now, I got a set of dual cannons in the last mission, so I'm going to mount them. And I got a torpedo as well. Now, these orange phasers are mechanically the same as these blue phasers. The blue phasers are just basically how they looked back in the 23rd century. Now, I'm going to have to go over to another ship, actually, and get all my equipment back. Because we're going to have our forward arc facing the enemy, I'm going to use the other materials. Actually, I can click on this, and even though this is equipped on another ship, I can equip it. And it's better than the default equipment. And that goes for the shields and the aft weapons, which I will actually put the dual beam bank here. Now the dual beam bank has an arc of 90 degrees, and it only can be mounted in the fore arc. Beam arrays can either be used in fore or aft. Same with torpedoes, but cannons can only be mounted in the fore as well. So I'll just quickly equip the rest of this. I don't think I got any tactical. No, I didn't. Alright, and this torpedo can go here. Okay, we're almost done here. I just need to equip the stations, or I'll have no abilities to use. I've changed the abilities that my team has around a little bit. Timet still has that. And we can pick a standard away team. Now, even though by default it's just security officers, they have no abilities and a basic phaser. And I think if you have bridge officers, they won't, like, they'll go instead of the security officers. So that's all for that. We're settled into our new ship. So let's talk to Admiral Quinn again.
I see you chose a fine ship with a top-notch crew, one of Starfleet's best. I hope you're ready to get back out there. A situation has come to my attention, and I'd like you to look into it.
Oh really? What's that? And Stranded in Space is our next mission.
I report there is a Bolian freighter that is overdue arriving at Earth space dock. It may need assistance. Please talk to Malcolm Sissel in the shipyard. He will have more information about the missing vessel than I do.
That's not quite what your read-up said, but we will do so. Oh, I guess we can't talk to Malcolm Sissel, because it doesn't have that up here. Alright, let's go to the USS Azura. Let's leave the system. Now, after the incident at Caleb 4 in the last video, I decided to give Shrol a name, well, a nickname, and I gave him the nickname Impulse after, well, you should know what happened. We'll just blame the helm officer for that. Now I can switch my powers around as I wish, and in fact I will. I'll take these weapons off the hotbar since they're not really needed. I tend to switch these around a bit, because Alt 1 is a lot more convenient than Control 1 for my basic powers. I tend to keep all my heals and all of that kind of stuff in the middle one. It's not important at this point.
To any ships in range, this is Dana Brott of the transport SS Azura. Please help. Warp core containment field down. Radiation flooding ship. Communications and life support failing. Cannot eject warp core. Need immediate evacuation and assistance. Please help us.
That Bolian needs help. Yeah, the story's gonna be a bit calm for a while, but it is building up to something.
To any ships in range, this is Dana Brott of the transport SS Azura.
Don't worry, we're here.
Please help. We're being pursued by Orion raiders. Crew injured, taking heavy fire. Dropping out of warp near your coordinates. Need immediate evacuation and assistance. Please help us.
Timet, keep tracking that distress signal. Some light attack craft. Alright. Let's get rid of these Orion corvettes. Now the Orion ships look quite different from what they used to. We'll put Tactical Team on, which will automatically redistribute our shields. Now I could charge straight at them. Actually, I'm going to scan these Verteron particles real quick. That brings us into a little mini game. And if we pass it, or succeed at it, I should say, we get extra particles. I think normally from a very rare drop you get 3. And I just wanted to fly that asteroid because I know that's an accolade. And you can see our cannons firing and our dual beam banks firing. And because we're a tactical vessel, it's not that hard to keep them in our front arcs. So we'll scan the Azura to see what kind of damage there is. Oh, elevated radiation levels. Okay. Let's go to the transporter room. And I still haven't found armor for these two, so they're wearing their bodysuits. Don't worry, Captain Impulse is here. Okay, there's some radiation coming from the warp core. Sounds a bit like a warp core breach to me. Alright, let's use the transporter. And we'll beam out. Alright. Oh, there's plasma leaks that we have to shut down. The Orions are on the ship. Okay, we gotta rescue those survivors. Now, since we're a science officer, we actually have a bonus objective, and that's to heal the injured crew. We have to save as many people as we can, so this is our way of doing it. Oh, he's got radiation poisoning, and we can give him a hypo spray. And we will apply the treatment. Okay, we'll talk to them. Get to the transporter room. Yeah, there's no point in saving them if you don't send them to the pad after. It won't count for the accolade. Oh, there's a Orion. Now I'm using a phaser pistol, which is basic equipment, but I also have a phaser rifle. And it's got some neat looking hologram stuff on it, as you can see there. And its secondary fire is split beam. It attacks up to 3 targets in a cone, and it does a bit of extra damage, and more damage on top of that if they are exposed, I believe the condition is called. Alright, get to the transporter room. And we'll get this Thoron particle. I won't be stopping to get everything, but it's right there. I mean... Okay, now there's no console on the outside of the room for this plasma conduit, so we'll have to stop it from this console. Now, Starfleet has changed a lot since the 23rd century. It's no longer just the 4 founding members. And there's more Orions in here, I believe. Oh, maybe not. Oh, yep, there are. Let's apply the treatment. And get to the transporter room. And we get an accolade for that, or at least we would if I hadn't done that already. I think accolades are unlocked per account. Now, Tarsi, she had one of those red circles above her during that combat. That was her draw fire ability, which puts a fake marker on her. And when she does anything like throw a grenade or shoot a phaser rifle or anything, she generates 150% extra threat. Well, unfortunately, we can't do anything about that warp core breach since we're not an engineer.
We hit an Orion ambush on our way to K7. We lost our weapons almost immediately, and then we took a direct hit near engineering. Our warp engine's magnetic antimatter containment field failed. We had no choice but to drop shields and use the power to try to stabilize the containment field. As soon as the shields were down, Orions boarded the ship.
It's a sticky situation.
I'll never let those green pirates have the Azura. Please, take my crew to safety. I'll keep trying to stabilize the warp core. If I'm lucky, I can buy you some time.
I'll help your crew. And let's go into the hallway. Oh, more Orions. Now I'll show you that split beam. Split beam rifles, I'll say right now, are probably my favorite rifle type weapon. They have the typical Star Trek feel, but they're really useful. Alright, we gotta get out of here. That warp core is gonna blow any second. I don't think there's an actual timer, but it's good to have a sense of urgency. Alright, let's get to the bridge. And use the turbo lift. More Orions.
Leave now if you know what's good for you, Starfleet. We're taking the ship, her crew, and her cargo.
That's what you think. Okay, let's actually use our impulse engines this time. Zoom in a little bit, get a better look at the ship. Now those Slave Master battleships can they can release those interceptors, which are pretty hard to hit usually. So I'm going to use my beam fire at will technique, which will shoot more phaser type, well, not phaser type, I should say, any energy weapons that you have, as long as they're beams. And those explosions are loud. Okay, now I have to get back to the Azura and save Captain Brott, which we can do from out here, but I'll just finish what I was saying. Basically, you shoot at everyone that you can in your beam arcs, but your beam weapons have 40 less accuracy, and they don't deal as much damage. And 40 less accuracy is a big deal. And we'll speak with the captain.
You saved my crew. I'll tell you whatever I can.
Now, what were you doing out here?
The Azura was a transport ship, best in the quadrant. Mostly I hauled medical supplies or farming equipment, but I had room in the cargo bays for a little of everything. I have one customer who is just crazy for Tranya. I don't save the galaxy on a regular basis like you Starfleet types do, but hauling cargo is a good way to make a living. I'm helping people in my own way.
Okay, I have another question.
You saved my crew. I'll tell you whatever I can.
What about the Orions? What were they doing there?
Thieves, pirates, and a whole lot of trouble if you ask me. Raiders have always been a danger to ships like mine, but the problem has gotten worse since the Orions allied with the Klingons. Now they think they can do anything to anyone. Someone needs to put a stop to these raids.
Wait, the Orions are allied with the Klingons now? They were pretty independent from the Klingons in the 23rd century. That must be one of the changes.
You saved my crew. I'll tell you whatever I can.
Alright, what happened to the Azura?
We have been having trouble with the warp core for a few days. I was hoping I could make it to the closest starbase, but...
Yeah, we kinda didn't save the ship.
When the containment field started to collapse, I used every bit of power we had to help stabilize it. The minute I rerouted power from the shields to the containment field, the Orions were there. For all I know, they detected I was in trouble and were waiting for the right time to pounce.
Just one last question.
You saved my crew.
What are you gonna
I'll
do
tell you
now?
whatever I can. Go back to Bellaris for a few weeks, I suppose. I have enough latinum saved up to get me back on my feet. As soon as I can get another ship, I'll be doing transport runs again. I have customers waiting.
Now, Latinum is not an official United Federation of Planets currency. It's actually a currency used by the Ferengi, but it's spread all throughout the galaxy. Starfleet and the United Federation of Planets don't officially have a currency. Everything is provided. Well, almost everything.
You saved my crew. I'll tell you whatever.
Yeah. Okay, let's depart now. Okay, let's hail Starfleet.
Well done. You saved that crew just in time.
Okay, that's all you had to say?
Congratulations, Lieutenant Commander.
Oh, we can get some duty officers. I'll actually do that off screen because he has nothing to say that I can't explain in the next video. So thanks for watching.